They fired the wrong woman. She caught executives stealing $1 million. They handed her a termination letter. But they forgot one thing. She taught them how to hide evidence. Her name was Rachel, and she was the best fraud investigator Meridian Insurance had ever employed. 15 years of service. Over 200 cases solved. A wall of commendations that stretched from floor to ceiling in her cramped corner office. She could spot a staged accident from a single photograph. She knew every trick, every scam, every desperate scheme people use to squeeze money from insurance companies. But here's where it gets interesting. The case that would end her career started with something so small, most investigators would have missed it entirely. A fender bender on Highway 47. 2 cars, minor damage, $3,000 claim. Routine. Boring. Except Rachel noticed something in the police report that made her pause. The responding officer's badge number had been used in 14 other accident reports that month. 14 accidents. 1 officer. Same intersection. And that officer had retired 3 years ago. Rachel should have flagged the report and moved on. That's what the manual said. That's what her supervisor, a man named Douglas Winters, would have wanted. But something gnawed at her. She pulled the other 13 reports. Same intersection. Same badge number. But different claimants. Different vehicles. Different days. She cross-referenced the claims with the company database. And then karma showed up. Every single claimant had the same attorney. A personal injury lawyer named Marcus Webb. And Marcus Webb's office address was listed in the company system as a preferred vendor for medical evaluations. Rachel felt the ice crawl up her spine. Preferred vendors were approved by upper management. Someone at Meridian had approved a fraud attorney as a trusted partner. She printed everything. 300 pages. And she walked straight to Douglas Winters' office. If this is already making your blood boil, drop a like so I know to keep digging. What happened next shocked everyone. Douglas Winters listened to Rachel's entire presentation. 20 minutes of evidence. Names. Dates. Dollar amounts. A fraud ring operating inside Meridian's own vendor system. When she finished, he leaned back in his leather chair and smiled. Not the smile of a grateful supervisor. The smile of a man who had been caught and didn't care. He told Rachel she had done excellent work. Truly impressive. Then he told her to drop it. Those exact words. Drop it. The investigation was being handled by people above her pay grade. She should return to her desk, delete her files, and focus on the Henderson claim that had been sitting in her inbox for 2 weeks. Rachel felt her hands start to shake. She asked him directly, "Was he involved?" Douglas Winters stood up, walked to his door, and held it open. "Think about your retirement, Rachel. Think about your husband's medical bills. Think very carefully about what hill you want to die on." But the betrayer didn't see this coming. What Douglas Winters didn't know was that Rachel had spent 15 years watching criminals make the same mistake. They always assumed the evidence only existed in one place. Before walking into his office, Rachel had emailed copies of everything to her personal account. She had photographed every document with her phone. She had even mailed a USB drive to her sister in Cleveland with instructions not to open it unless something happened to her. Paranoid? Maybe. But paranoia keeps investigators alive. The next morning, Rachel arrived at work to find her access badge deactivated. Security escorted her to Human Resources, where a woman she had never met handed her a document. Termination for cause. Violation of data security protocols. Unauthorized access to confidential files. They had manufactured a paper trail overnight. Rachel's career was over. Her reputation destroyed. Her pension at risk. She signed the papers with a steady hand. And as she walked out of the building for the last time, she was already planning her revenge. But, everything I just told you? That's just the setup. The revenge is where this story gets good. Most people who get wrongfully terminated hire a lawyer and sue for damages. Rachel didn't want damages. She wanted destruction. She spent 3 weeks in her basement, building a case that would make her 15 years of fraud investigation look like amateur hour. She mapped the entire network. Marcus Webb, the attorney, was connected to 4 body shops that consistently repaired vehicles involved in the fake accidents. Those body shops were owned by shell companies. The shell companies traced back to 3 names. Douglas Winters, the company's chief financial officer, a man named Harold Peck, and Meridian's own director of claims, Sandra Milbrook. 3 executives. $1 million in fraudulent claims over 5 years. All documented. All provable. If you want to see how karma delivers, make sure you're subscribed. But here's what made Rachel's plan brilliant. She didn't go to the police. She didn't go to the media. She went somewhere far more dangerous for corrupt insurance executives. She went to the state insurance commissioner's office. And not just any commissioner. Rachel had done her research. Commissioner Linda Chen had built her entire career prosecuting insurance fraud. She had a 93% conviction rate. She hated corporate criminals with a passion that bordered on personal vendetta. And she had publicly stated that her next target was fraud originating from outside insurance companies themselves. Rachel didn't just hand over evidence. She handed over a gift-trap prosecution. Everything organized. Everything documented. Chain of custody preserved. Witness statements prepared. Financial records annotated. Commissioner Chen later said it was the most comprehensive fraud package she had ever received. But wait, the best part is coming. Within 48 hours, Commissioner Chen's office had obtained warrants for Meridian's corporate records. Within a week, federal investigators joined the case. Wire fraud. Mail fraud. Conspiracy. RICO violations. The charges kept stacking. What they did next was legendary. Douglas Winters tried to flee. He made it to the airport before federal marshals intercepted him at the gate. His passport was confiscated while he begged for mercy. Harold Peck, the CFO, immediately turned state's evidence, giving up everyone to save himself. He wore a wire for 6 weeks, recording conversations that implicated 17 additional Meridian employees in the scheme. Sandra Millbrook hired 5 different attorneys. None of them could help her. The evidence was simply too overwhelming. Marcus Webb, the attorney at the center of it all, was disbarred and arrested on the same day. His office was raided. 243 fraudulent claims. $1.2 million. The final number was even higher than Rachel had calculated. But here's the moment that made everything worth it. At Douglas Winters' sentencing hearing, Rachel was allowed to deliver a victim impact statement. She stood before the court, looked her former boss in the eye, and said 7 words that would define her legacy. She looked at Douglas Winters and said, "I told you to think carefully." The courtroom went silent. Winters was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. Sandra Millbrook received 8 years. Harold Peck got 3 years for cooperation, plus 5 years probation. Marcus Webb received 15 years, the longest sentence of all, for orchestrating the entire operation. But Rachel's revenge didn't end there. She filed a wrongful termination lawsuit against Meridian Insurance. The company, desperate to avoid more publicity, settled for an undisclosed amount rumored to be in the high 6 figures. They also issued a public apology and were forced to implement new whistleblower protection policies. Rachel used the settlement to start her own consulting firm. She now trains insurance companies across the country on how to detect internal fraud. Her first piece of advice to every new client? Listen to your investigators. They might just save your company, or they might destroy it. But there's one detail that makes this story even more satisfying. Remember Harold Peck, the CFO who turned state's evidence to save himself? After serving his 3 years, he tried to rebuild his career. He applied to over 200 companies. Not a single one would hire him. Then he applied to Rachel's consulting firm, desperate